theCUBE at EMC World 2014 is brought to you by EMC. Redefine. VCE. Innovating the world's first converged infrastructure solution for private cloud computing. Brocade. Say goodbye to the status quo and hello to Brocade.
Welcome back to SiliconANGLE TV's live continuous coverage from EMC World 2014 here in Las Vegas. I'm Stu Miniman with Wikibon.org. Pleased to be joined with Wikibon co-founder, CTO, head of research, David Floyer on this section.
Hi there.
And we've also got Jason Kotsaftis, who's the Director of Oracle Solutions Marketing from EMC. Jason, thanks for joining us.
No problem, Stu. Always a pleasure.
So, EMC World, there's so much going on, and really love, kind of the vibe of the show, and so many different solution spaces that we've been digging in.
Yes.
We focused here on the theCUBE this week about a lot of different applications, and one of the things you talk about a virtualized environment in cloud architectures is, enterprises don't have one application or even a couple applications. They have many applications.
Yep.
And David Floyer's actually published some new research, just hit the wire, pretty recently.
Yep.
Title of the piece is Migrating to a Shared Cloud-Enabled Infrastructure. My guys are going to pull up the chart that really shows the annualized IT budget over from current to 5 years out, and what you're looking at is it includes applications like SAP, Microsoft Unified Communications, Database as a Service, unstructured data, which is file, and also data warehousing. So, big meaty piece, lots of charts. Some people have called, Wikibon the guys that make charts, and we put them out to our community. Love to always get the feedback from everybody out there. So Jason, I know you've only had a little bit of time to look at this, hot-breaking research, but how does this resonate with you?
It's really exciting for us. I mean, if you've picked up on one theme of the show, we're talking a lot about the federation. And part of the reason EMC's organized our company in terms of a federation is our customers, from a data perspective, very much run a mixture of databases, application workloads, unstructured data. They'll use those applications in different ways, OLTP, data warehousing. So we're really excited about the research you've done here at Wikibon, kind of encapsulating the federation theme, going out and talking to customers about how they're implementing these environments, and then looking at it in terms of how it's impacting, how they can impact the way they allocate their IT budget. So, David, I'd love to get some background for you on the research and what were some of the companies that you went out and talked to? What was the nature of that conversation?
Well, the nature of the conversation was all about how could they move to an environment where they weren't spending so much time on the nitty-gritty of putting in updates to to servers, updates to storage, having to make sure that all the microcodes were in line and in line with the software. This type of activity adds nothing to the bottom line of an organization. It's just overhead and it's getting in the way. So one of the consistent themes we heard that people really want to get away from the traditional way of doing things and move towards a way where they can encapsulate larger amounts of activity and just have one or two moving parts as opposed to 20 moving parts within an application or within a set of applications.
So what you're really talking about is we're trying to help them spend less time maintaining their environments, shift that IT spend and that time spend more to innovation. Which is a great theme.
Yeah, and what we found was that if you do that, you can expect to reduce the overall IT budget by about 25%. And the really important thing about that is that you can then use that to invest back into the business, into things that matter, which is using these revolutionary techniques in mobile, in flash, in new architectures.
SAP HANA.
SAP HANA, yes. to really drive additional value for the company as a whole. And if you're on that path and you can release those resources, then IT is going to be perceived as an asset as opposed to just a sink.
So David, I wonder, you said 25% of the budget is being cut by what's going on there. I'm wondering if you can give us a little bit of insight as to where it is. Is that infrastructure costs? Is it operational? Well, where's the where can we kind of liposuction some of that budget?
Well, where are the main areas? If you look at it as a whole, well, we looked at 5 areas in total, 5 different areas to look at where it was, and it's different in different areas. So, for example, in the SAP area, the major area is using SAP, improving the infrastructure, actually spending a little bit more on the infrastructure, but allowing it to simplify the number of landscapes. And that's very important to organizations with multiple divisions. So that's what we looked at in the SAP area. In the unified communication area, which was the second area, we looked at moving from 2010 to UC 2013.
For Microsoft.
The Microsoft suite.
Okay.
So that's Exchange, SharePoint, Link. And in 2013, it's all linked together, together with the Active Directory, etc. So we looked at what it took, and in fact here, the actual budget is going to go up slightly over that 5-year period, but the savings for the organization as a whole were enormous, about 15 million or something over that 5-year period. Okay. The third one was looking at database as a service, and here there's enormous potential savings, particularly from license costs.
Right.
By improving the infrastructure and reducing the number of cores and improving the way that virtualized systems are deployed so that you can offer the same service at much lower cost. So that was a big area where you could take out licensing costs in particular. With all of those 3 areas, again, the biggest area you could take out was the operational costs, the DBAs, the people like that. And then the last 2 areas were unstructured data, where we took out resources by going from the traditional filer system, lots of filers all over the place, towards a global file system, which utilizes the shared infrastructure. Right. And then the last one is data warehousing, and that's more of a process. Data warehousing isn't one server and one application or one database. It's a whole series of databases. So we looked at how over time you could move that across and share and take really, again, spend a little bit more on the infrastructure, but reduce the licenses, reduce the overheads, etc. That was the main finding, was that it's a little bit from everywhere, but if you take a systematic approach and take it a phase at a time, you can't do all of that in one go. No. You've got to phase it over a period of time. Does that resonate with the people you talk to?
It does. I was curious when you talked about operational savings. Now, when companies are doing some of the things you talked about, which is simplifying landscapes for SAP or standardizing their infrastructure for Microsoft landscapes, did you look at that from the perspective of things such as vSpecs or converged infrastructure under Microsoft, and what were some of the elements you saw people taking advantage of?
Well, we assumed that, for example, in the SAP, that's clearly an area where converged infrastructure is the right approach.
Right, okay.
You want to, for example, SAP offer SAP and Oracle together. Right. So take advantage of that. Make it a single package, one throat to choke for as far as the software is concerned. And then on the other side, you want, again, one throat to choke, one SME, as we call it, a single managed entity. You want one throat where if anything goes wrong, you have one person to call, sort it out, one person is on the to do that. As a reference architecture, the one we chose was VCE, which is very well established, an EMC product, but or EMC contributed to product.
Correct, right.
But that's the thesis here, is put together things together in these SMEs and make as few of them as possible. That enables you to get to that single landscape over that period of time. And even more important, it allows you to, or as important, it allows you to reduce those costs of not of the SAP, unfortunately. That's not going away. Right. But things like the license costs and and in particular the operational costs.
Well, and that's an interesting point too. So theoretically, if you're doing this, the operational things like how do I provision, how do I back up, how do I protect, my Microsoft environments or my Oracle environments should get easier to do.
Absolutely.
As an IT macro level, because you're getting economies of scale and standardizing certain components.
Once you've put the first piece in, the second one becomes easier, and the route down becomes easier.
Yeah, Jason, I wonder if you can give us the EMC perspective on this.
Sure.
You live in the Oracle Solutions Group. We've talked to, I think almost all of the solutions that we've talked about.
I have.
We've talked to the individual
worked
groups
with SAP,
here.
Microsoft.
You've worked with many, and so we're talking to a lot of them and many of the customers, which we've been happy to have on. How do you guys give that holistic view from what you build in the solutions group, and maybe give us a little insight as to what you've done with the customers?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we've learned a lot as well is our own IT organization. We run, one of the themes you'll see at the show here is that despite being in the IT business, when you go talk to our own CIO and our own IT infrastructure teams, they face the exact same challenges that our customers face, and what network they're going to run, what database, what application, these different environments that you talked about. We run SAP, Microsoft, Oracle, File, et cetera. And we've learned a lot from them in terms of how we've implemented our own cloud infrastructure, but we have very focused communities for SAP, for Microsoft, for Oracle, for other areas that we've actually used to gather feedback from our customers on. And the biggest theme we've seen is over 90% of our customers run more than one application, to your point. And while we focused traditionally on very specific solutions for each application and area, where we're taking the solutions organization next is we're looking at horizontal mixed application workload environments and mixed application solutions. And so we're going to gather a lot of that from our own IT expertise, but also in talking to many of our customers. And you're going to find that we're documenting solutions in that way. So this research is very much in line with what we've seen our own company go through, which is really exciting to see, even down to the multi-year TCO savings, very much in line with that, and it's also very in line with what we see customers doing.
Yeah, thanks so much. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. I'm saying those of you watching, go to wikibon.org where you can find this research. Wikibon research, always free. We encourage you to give us your feedback on that. Jason mentioned some of the EMC IT. Check out the Daryl Smith interview that we've done at the show, as well as KK, who's going to talk about the file unstructured piece there. So, David and Jason, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule here, and we will be right back with our continuous coverage from EMC World after this quick break.
Okay.